Доброго дня.
Hello to those who are now watching us live. I am the chairman of the center, of the board of the center, and I think that this topic is mentioning our attention to the topics that were considered multiple times in this room already, and it's about the energy issues. However, I would like to mention that today, before the 8th guest forum, we are talking more even or not that much about business, but more about social importance of sustainable development of energy, renewable energy in the context of the situation that is now taking place, the war against Ukraine, and we felt ourselves how sustainable the system is, how ready we are to react to such crisis conditions. This is important for survival and development of our country. And of course, we have to think about the future, not just about this winter that is coming, but I hope that we will hear very important things from our speakers here. However, also for the future, where is Ukrainian's place in the energy architecture of the world, how the system will be developed, some of the new approaches, green energy. So what kind of combination in general of all of these energy sources, how the world is going to live after the war? Of course, now we won't be able to discuss all the issues, but I will present our participants one after the other one. And I would like to mention straight away that today we have people who are representing leadership positions on energy space. I would say not even the business, but analytical as well. So glad to see you here on this platform. And I would like to give the floor to the person who has been in our center for many times and is working with these issues for quite some time. Now he's heading expert council on development of gas industry and the natural gas market. Leonid Nyugovsky, I think probably everyone knows him, and I guess that Mr. Leonid, in addition to all the questions I would like to ask you, I would like to begin with the forum, and we are asking you to reveal a bit why are we holding that during the war? What is the aim? And maybe announce a bit what will be happening during the next few days here in Ukraine. Thanks to our warriors, men and women, we can talk, we can have a lot of foreign representatives, and actually the rear has to work as intense as the front line is working. So the floor is yours. So please reveal these issues, and especially we are interested in what is expecting us in the nearest prospects. First of all, I would like to thank the hosts for the invitation. Indeed, this is forum number 8. We started in 2015 and we were holding forums only we're not holding forums only in 2022. I would like to say that indeed, not only Mr. Charlie asked this question, and before we are going to conduct this forum number 8, we as organizers pretty often hear such questions. The war is going on. Why do we need the forum? From the point of view of the organizers, and I think that everyone will say that to you. Well, first of all, aggressor wants us to stop living. Aggressor wants to destroy us. However, we lived, we live, and we will live. And first of all, this forum shows that life continues, analyzing what we need during the period of war and after. Second, the practice shows that I would like to underline real and not some like imaginary, real decisions, real projects, and some construction projects and energy projects, they are solved only based on collective discussion, only based on various but professional points of view, and only then we can hope that we will have the real energy policy of the country as a result. This is very important. And the only thing for the speakers in our forum is, first of all, professionality, and second is interest. People should be interested in that. And maybe the third is a practicality of what we are going to discuss. So now, if you allow me, a few words about the forum itself. It will take place 25th, 26th of October. It will be in hybrid, offline, online, intercontinental hotel, if I'm not mistaken. It's our traditionally we have all our forums there. So the first panel is gas panel, where all the issues about gas are analyzed, beginning with the production, with producing, then purchase, selling, transporting. There will be representatives, the head of, I guess, he is called the CEO of our operator of gas and transport system. He will tell us about what is being done by our gas and transport services. That is what Mr. Chali asked me, actually. Those are Naftogaz representatives. That will be very interesting. They will say what's happening with them right now. They are concentrating various directions of production in their activities. So what will happen after the ending of the war, and how that will switch to the market competitive economy. We will also have some issues of Ukrtransgaz, where quite a big amount of foreign natural gas is preserved, and how in Ukraine, our Ukrainian, I would say Eastern European gas hub is going to be built. The second panel is regulatory panel, and there will take part representatives of almost all regulatory bodies of the EU. Moderators of the panel representative, now she's working actually in the Secretariat of Energy Community, Ms. Elena Antonova. So unfortunately, we didn't get from our regulator the answer who is going to take part in this forum. It should have been Ms. Babi. However, she left for a business trip, and we are waiting for the answer from Mr. Oshipovsky. The third is a complex panel. What are we giving to Europe? What Europe is giving to us, including renewable energy. I dare say that we will have a few very interesting projects related to possible and prospective transporting of using our transport energy, and also our gases and our underground storages, and also issues related to the hydrogen and its transporting our through the rivers. The fourth panel is a mixture. Ms. Aura Sabadus will be moderator, well-known journalist who for quite some time is writing about energy markets. There will be a mix of diplomats, mix of experts. There will be mix also of analysts, for example, from Atlantic Council. That is the 25th of October. On the 26th of October, we start with a panel, one of the central ones in our forum. This is a panel where moderated by a person who is sitting to the left, Mr. Dombrovsky. This is a panel where we will consider biomethane issues. That's very important because you know that how much this problem is being analyzed in the world, and they are saying that biomethane is the perspective of energy development of the world. This is panel number 6. It's also very interesting because we have two issues here. The first one is distributed generation hits. We know what happened last winter when we had lack of electricity and everything. So what can we do for sustainability of our energy system to be higher than before? A few speeches and discussions will be dedicated to this topic. Those are representatives of Ukrenergo and Oblenergo and representatives of companies who are officially working on these issues. The second part of panel number 6 is our speeches on cybersecurity. You know how important it is. And sometimes in the world, energy systems went off after the cyber attacks. And now Ukraine, as probably it seems to all of us, Ukraine has the biggest experience. Maybe this is not a good experience. However, it's still positive from the point of view of our skills, of our knowledge, how to defend ourselves from such attacks. Next panel is a panel of rebuilding, how we are going to rebuild. When the war is going on, and unfortunately the war will last for some time, and we have to understand what should we do during that time and what we are going to do after the war. So representatives of financial organizations participate, and also Ukrenergo and a range of other structures. And panel number 8 is free discussion of energy markets of Ukraine. We invited there some experts who for quite some time have been working in energy field. They have certain experience, and we truly hope that this will be quite interesting. The moderator will be the editor of Energy Business, Mr. Bilyan. So that's it from my side. Briefly, maybe not really briefly, however, this is information what will take place on 25th and 26th of October. Thank you very much. I think that after the introductory part, we will have the possibility to discuss a bit. And you mentioned Mr. Alexander Dombrovsky and Mr. Alexander in different roles in the latest years was representing his position in energy, the head of the committee, and as the person who started with the engineering and deep analysis of new technologies, you just continue doing that right now in agro energy. So, and the name actually says everything. So I would like you to mention in your introductory word, it seems to me that this is the component that the previous speaker mentioned. Now it adds some details to the forum, like gas forum, if I am not mistaken. Like the first forums, we're not considering some renewable sources, right? Mainly we've been talking about transitioning and the ways how we can get that independence of Ukraine from the flows and so on. And now we are on this stage. So, Mr. Alexander, the forum part of it is our topic. What should we expect? Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation and support. And I would like to mention that I participated in preparation of many forums of ours. However, such a concentration of challenges and problems that are there for our country and for the world, I guess we've never seen this amount of problems. And when we were thinking about the forum, we were thinking about the key messages that we should pay attention to and that we should analyze, and we made a decision in the organizational committee that it should be an analysis of the new energy architecture of the world, because without understanding the architecture, we won't be able to find neither the place of Ukraine nor adopt the decision necessary for the economy of Ukraine and for Ukraine as a state. However, today I can mention that it is important for us in the context of forum not just to have understanding of energy architecture. It's very important for us to understand also the global architecture of the world, which is changing dynamically today, and we are witnesses of very serious conflicts that are taking part in different parts of the world, and for sure this is impacting the economy, and this is impacting Ukraine. Here, I would like to mention that, for example, for me, understanding of such formula as energy and peace is very important. We are used to it. We were looking for solutions all the time, like energy policy, energy independence, energy safety in the formula of peace. And today we have to look for a totally different formula, and we have to recognize energy and war. By the way, we can see that the formula of war is changing rapidly, also technologically, and such issues as reliability, as new technologies, protection, cybersecurity, physical security of energy objects becomes more and more important. At the same time, we do understand that the rapid changes are not only in energy technologies, because tomorrow and the day after tomorrow we will talk about that a lot, but unfortunately, the technological solutions are also changing that are related to war. The number of drones, the size, how far they can hit, or how strong the hits are, we have to take all of that into account when we are considering how to defend the energy sector of Ukraine and make it serious, powerful, and protected. And in this context, I would like to switch to a very important issue because the company MHP Eco Energy is the key partner of the forum. And I can say our argument why is that important for us. First of all, it's important to show and represent the energy achievements, including green transitioning, including green energies that are as of today in the company. Because without this, we cannot find energy security. Even more than that, I dare say that in spite of huge criticism that we used to have a few years ago when green energy was defined as, I'm sorry for probably like the rough word, like everything was put on green energy, like green energy is guilty of everything. But now we understand that green energy is a very serious tool, weapon for energy protection of economy of Ukraine. And if we want to set a task of energy security and energy independence of Ukraine, we have to understand that if Ukrainian companies will be independent in terms of energy and they will be able to protect their businesses, partially or in full, we will be able to create energy independence for the whole country. I will draw just a few examples of how we work in today's conditions. Our company, MHP Eco Energy, part of MHP company, we built 2 biogas companies. We are producing biogas, and out of it, we are making green energy, heat, steam. And in certain part, it gives us energy independence and energy security. And I would like to say that in spite of war, in the last 2 years, we built a few powerful and not really powerful solar stations, including this year, in order to get own energy efficient resource for our own consumption. We use smart grid, smart systems in order to have proper consumption. We are involved in development of new technologies. We want to find new technologies, how to increase the production of biomethane and biogas, including using green hydrogen, which Mr. Leonid mentioned today. And I think that it's huge prospects, not just biomethane, but also like to synthesize methane, which might have huge and colossal export potential for Ukraine. So our forum platform is very professional, very deep. And I guess that technical and political discussion, political from the point of view of energy, I mean, this is incredibly important in order to formulate the offers for the state of Ukraine, for Ukrainian government. And it seems to me that as of today, they need professional expert support. Thank you. Thank you very much for the brief introductory word, and the approach is clear. And I think that biomethane and other renewable sources of energy are subject of work of Bioenergy Association of Ukraine. And Mr. Here, he is heading the board of this association. So I would like you to mention what do you expect from the forum, and actually with, if you take into account the nearest time renewable sources, what do they give us during war? Because it's clear that it's useful, we will have some prospects, but what do we have right now? Thank you very much for the opportunity to mention my opinion. I'm participating in this forum for the third or fourth time, and from my experience, I can mention that more and more attention is being paid to renewable sources of energy, and 2 sections out of 8 this year are about renewable energy sources, and 1 is specialized on biomethane. By the way, this week in Europe is called Week of Biomethane, and every day the big conferences and events are taking place related to biomethane, and even our section, we were asked to move to the 26th because 24th and 25th there are big events in Brussels on biomethane, and the speakers who wanted to participate in our forum, they are just free on the 26th. So as far as it is taking place to some extent in the framework of this European Week of Biomethane, and on our section dedicated to this, we will have the best European speakers. Answering your question, what about now? Well, just an example. One of the members of our association, the company of Agrarian Direction, they are producing biogas, and from biogas, electric energy. They are in Chernihiv Oblast. The front did not come to them, like 10 kilometers distance. They did not stop for a single hour. They continued producing energy. And we all remember the previous winter and problems with supply of energy. So they had a mini island, so to say. They were producing that for themselves and in some radius from them for the consumers. They were providing with their energy. It's like 7 megawatt. However, that was all the time available during winter period without blackouts. Now the same company has also become the first plant in Ukraine that produces biomethane. This is biogas, which is of the quality of the natural gas. And this gives a huge advantages because we can transport that, we can store it, we can use that when we need. We can export that to Europe. By the way, in Europe, there is a high demand for biomethane. Now they are producing like 3.5 billion of cubic meters of biomethane, and they want to consume 35 billion. So just imagine 10 times growth in less than 10 years. What other sector in the world can grow in such tempo? And for 2050s, the analysts consider from 90 to 120 billion of cubic meters. So this is, if we consider 2050s, this is like we plan to use biomethane to a great extent because Europe adopted a very important political decision that in 2050s they should become CO2 neutral. And that means that the greenhouse gases have to come closer to zero or zero. And that means that everything that when burning gives the greenhouse gases, the consumption of those should come to an end, including natural gas. So what will substitute natural gas? These are renewable gases, biomethane, green hydrogen, and synthetic renewable methane. So to some proportion, this market will be divided. And the first one is biomethane. And we see the huge attention to this gas in the world. And here we have the first plant in Ukraine, almost ready-made legislation in this field for producing biomethane. We are waiting for the last decision on the law that will allow us to export biomethane because as of now, for temporarily, it's not possible. However, we are expecting when the export market will be open for us, and then Ukraine will be able to take Russia's place in some extent in ensuring the renewable gases to European Union, just like Russia. And their time, they were taking the biggest part of on the market in Europe, gas market. So Ukraine will be able to take market share in renewable gases. Why? Because we have the biggest agricultural lands in Europe, and that means that we have the bigger number of the remnants, I mean agricultural remnants, and they can be turned into biomethane. And we have highly developed system of gas systems, gas pipes, and almost in all parts of Ukraine we can join the network of pipes, and we can put biomethane there. And Europe is a premium market that till 2050s, I mean, all the European experts are saying that we are going to be a deficit market. We will have lack of biomethane, and any amount that you will offer, we will buy. Again, what other markets in Europe are deficit markets. We can see the problems with grain that we have with our some other traditional export products. And here, it's like the fate offers us such a market that in 2050s will have huge deficits. And we have the biggest number of raw materials, biggest amount of raw materials in Europe, and we have all the technical abilities to supply that to Europe. I think this is a very unique situation, and this is kind of a new and export-oriented field that will take its place in new energy construction of Europe. Probably that's it. Okay, it's obvious that you are showing more the future than today's situation. Today we have to recognize that still we are worried about our energy balance, and in this balance, gas is the issue that takes very important place. And this dependency, it remains or not. So I have two questions, what do we have in terms of gas coming closer to winter? And indeed, how can we perceive the situation as of today? A lot of questions are being asked, and I will allow myself to ask you a question. Gas systems and some gas pipelines, why do they function? Because this is mostly used, like we have Russian gas coming, transit gas. Yeah, I mean, it's not Ukraine that is consuming this kind of gas. But where are those people right about the North Flow, that they said it should not come into force because then it will save Ukrainian gas pipelines? What do we have with that? What is the situation, and how do you see the reliability of working of the system and the balance in terms of gas? It's a difficult question. I think I will start from the other side. You all know and you all felt that the winter 2022-2023, we had gas. That is, we could use our gas heating. However, that is very important. We had gas. To some extent, it was, and this is my own point of view, because the transitioning had been working. We had a proper pressure and amounts, and I can't say that we consumed Russian gas. And the operator understands that if we are consuming a part of the gas from the pipe for our own needs, then the same part we are taking from our underground storages. So this is quite a rhetoric question, whose gas we are using. But the other thing is important. We had gas. What will happen in the next heating season? Probably many people know that transitioning contract is lasting till 2024. So formally, 2023-2024 heating season, we have, so the transitioning will be functioning. This is reliability of our gas supply. This is my own point of view, even though I do understand what is it when we get and we transport the aggressor's gas. But I guess we should act pragmatically. This will ensure us part of our safety during the heating season. Secondly, what's going on with gas? Some numbers on producing, on consumption. So we can rely only on some statement of Mr. Chernyshev, head of Naftogaz Ukraine. In this heating season, we won't need import gas. Even though I'm not really sure about it, even though in our underground storages we have gas which is belonging to foreign traders and our private gas producers. In simpler words, then with foreign traders, it's more difficult. They want and they probably will try to supply this gas to Europe next winter. If we are talking about energy system, then I would address energy in general. You know, the blackouts that we had, almost everyone felt that on themselves. However, we repaired almost everything if we take into account what the Ministry of Energy is saying and what Ukrenergo is saying. And quite a lot of operators of electric distribution network. The problem also is that still the big number of such equipment was renovated. However, when the renovation is going on in quick tempo and on some temporary schemes, then, to my opinion, the reliability of such systems is reducing. And this is the danger, in my opinion, that might be expecting us. So we will hope that the actions that are undertaken by our workers of the gas field and what is done by our energy system will help us to cope with this heating season. Thank you very much. And developing further the topic of stability and everything, why are we talking about that? Because you can see even like discussion of war, defense, when we are talking about energy sector, there's high attention to that because this is actually a weapon during war. I heard that there are some local solutions that might decentralize and thus make us safer from the hits of the rockets. And obviously, they are storing the rockets, and most probably they will again try to hit our energy system. And some smaller solutions, their definition, they are just helping in the situation to preserve the capacities. That is the example that you made, that if they would have had these 10 kilometers, then we would have had huge problems. However, it's very interesting, like even during the war, what new technologies, new developments, new approaches might be used in order to make our system, not energy, but agrarian sector, economy in general, more sustainable, that is very strong in its development so that they can cope with these hits. So now in the world, it is very popular to think about sustainability of systems so that they can cope with different risks. If earlier on we've been talking about some general approaches, now we are talking about risks. So I know that you are working a lot and looking for some models, also external models for Ukraine. So in order to have a good understanding, I know that MHP, let us call it this way, they are paying a lot of attention to physical protection of Ukrainian territory and obviously also their own undertakings and enterprises and manufacturing. They are allocating big money for the air defense system of Ukraine. I've seen myself these new developments jointly with the militaries, and by the way, they had good feedback about that. But that's just one part, physical protection. And the other part, how to increase the efficiency, because if we are increasing efficiency, then we are wasting less money of taxpayers and we get more profit. I would like you to mention this. You have certain direction, eco energy. What does it give us in agrarian sector? What might it give? What gives it as of today? Maybe some new solutions. Can you please share this information with us? Thank you very much for your question. However, I would like to start my answer with the construct that today we are forced to live in the paradigm of energy safety and war. And if we are talking about the war, then probably we can consider in simplified version, is it a cruel war? Or maybe in the nearest time we will have the formula of Cold War, not as hot as we have it as of today. However, in both cases, war is war. And we have to understand how can we protect our energy infrastructure, how can we use the energy potential that is as of today for Ukrainian enterprises and for Ukrainian economy, including MHP company. And how can we create and what we can create if today we want to create and be engaged in the issues of energy safety and energy system of Ukraine. Because, so to say, the problem of survival of energy system in centralized structure of Soviet time. And today, these are different philosophies. And Mr. Leonid mentioned, and I would like to continue the topic of decentralization, because if we take, for example, two markets, the market of electric energy as a main resource and natural gas market, these are two main energy resources Ukrainian economy is based on. So when we will talk about the electric energy market, as of today, we do understand that at least before war, we had more than 50% generation by atomic stations, nuclear stations. And we have to understand, first of all, how to properly, physically, and in cyber way to protect those. We have to consider negative and very uneasy experience of problems related to capturing Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station, how we can react to such challenges, and we have to think about what nuclear generation do we need for the nearest future. When we will renew our economy and our energy system, this is construction of the blocks. Or maybe we should stop using the nuclear energy as Germany did it, and we know that in the EU now there is discussion between the two key economies of Germany and France. This is discussion regarding Germany is totally against using nuclear power stations. They closed the last nuclear block, and France is supporting. They want to develop nuclear energy because under the conditions of global heating, it is considered to be carbon clear. When we are talking in this context about the experience that the company MHP has, I already mentioned that as of today, in quick tempos, we are growing capacities of solar generation because this solar generation might be used in any point of industrial consumption. It is optimizing a lot of processes. It has big advantages because this is cheap energy, but it also has some disadvantages because it's not a stable source of energy supply, because during the winter we don't have much solar energy, but we have a lot of it during summer. So we need to learn to build properly such type of the projects. I dare say that we have more than a dozen of projects of different scale, and for the nearest 2 or 3 years, we are planning at least 30 megawatt of solar generation to build in Ukraine because we consider that it is very good. And the other element of this system, which is also incredibly important, this is balancing of energy consumption for our own industrial needs and for the energy market. Why am I talking about that? Because in Ukrainian energy system, at least before the war and today, coal generation and hydro power was the key element of balancing of our energy system. We know what happened to our key hydroelectrostation. We know what is happening to our coal stations that are being destroyed. And we remember that, if I'm not mistaken, more than 60 real attempts to destroy all our coal generation happened in the last 1.5 years. And we have to think what is the balancing capacity, because we need to balance day and night. We need to balance between the fields of consumption. So as of today, here our company already has the experience of using the battery energy storage, and in the nearest time we will implement the industrial big project. And in this direction we are planning, like in 2024, 2025, also to install maybe 10, 20, or even 30 megawatt of capacities for our own needs in order to integrate solar generation for our own consumption, as well as the work of the storage systems that will balance for our own needs. The third direction that is functioning and is very prospective for Ukraine, and Ukraine has unique experience in this sense in many projects, this is using Ukrainian biomass. Because according to potential of biomass, we can actually cover the whole amount of our consumption if we learn to use that properly. If I'm not mistaken, then approximately 150 megawatts of capacities are bioheating energy stations that use Ukrainian biomass for green energy production and for heat production. For heating, why is it important? Because every year we are growing vegetables. Every year we have the new biomass. We are burning that down. We are using that, and we are producing the renewable energy resource, both green heating and green energy. And in Ukraine, we have very powerful examples how this can work efficiently. And the problem is just that we need to multiply that. And I guess that the role of the state is that, and by the way, probably our partners, to give the multiplier support. Because under the conditions of war, to invest, like for real business, into such projects, it's very important. However, the turnover resources are lacking, especially for SMEs. That is when we are talking about, for example, the market of electric energy. I would like to mention that we have quite powerful wind energy field, and unfortunately that all was concentrated in the Black Sea basin, that as of now has the biggest bombarding and destructions. And wind energy is also very powerful resource that we have to learn how to use. I will return to our biogas and biomethane projects because they've been functioning efficiently for more than 10 years for MHP company. And as of today, we are planning to build 3 biogas complexes, even in spite of the situation in Ukraine, because we think that this is necessary for the energy safety of the company. And in order to continue what Mr. Hyori mentioned, I would like to say that Ukraine has a fantastic and colossal potential in order to grow the market of biomethane. And with the practical, I would like to underline that practical and theoretical calculation, general potential of biomass that we, and the ways that we can transform it to biomethane, it's 20 billion cubic meters of biomethane. This is the amount that Ukraine, before the war, Ukraine was producing natural gas in this amount. This is about biomethane. So from one side, these are practical calculations. From the other side, also a bit of theoretical. We have a lot of assumptions we have to work with additionally. I mean, Ukraine has to do that. However, if we transform this resource and we integrate that with the synthesis of cases, when we can use CO2 and we can integrate the green hydrogen in almost like unlimited amounts, we can double this. This is a theoretical potential of just one direction. We can have 40 billion of cubic meters in Ukraine. This is enough in order to cover our own needs in Ukraine. I'm not even mentioning Ukrainian gas. And in order to form a very powerful export green energy potential for the country. And these are programs and projects functioning in our company. And the last thing I would like to mention, if we are talking about an MHP company, we are participants of very serious programs of European Union, which is supported by Eurocommission, Horizon Europe program. These are projects where we are one of the key teams on development of new philosophy, new concept, new innovative approach of producing biomethane and production of biogas using ex situ technologies and in situ technologies. We created a unique laboratory here in Ukraine together with Energy Association, and I am absolutely sure that green energy potential that might be very powerful base for transformation of Ukrainian economy and decarbonization of Ukrainian economy, which is very important, by the way. Industrial fields such as chemical industry, steel producing industry, we have absolutely enough of all of that in this approach. The other thing is that we still have war and the energy safety and energy model and war. Under such conditions, we have to look for non-standard approaches and non-standard solutions, and we truly hope that in the process of discussion of work of our forum tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, we will get some maybe new ideas both for businesses, for authorities, what solutions we have to implement in Ukraine. And I think that part of energy infrastructure, for sure, we have to hide under the ground. We have step by step to hide under the ground the key transforming substations, maybe new substations, or maybe we can close them with the special technologies. We should protect and think how to physically protect gas transporting stations that Mr. Leonid mentioned in order to limit the destruction, because the cynical part of this war, I think that not a single country in the world hasn't had such destructions with modern weapons as Ukraine has. And the fact that we have energy, we have electricity, we have gas, and maybe not the optimism, however, but we are with worries. However, no matter what happens, we will survive this winter. It says that energy system in Ukraine, it lived, and we have a very powerful team of Ukrainian energy specialists, and we are confident that we need very deep and modernization of energy system based on the principles that exist in Ukraine as of today. They are functioning in big, medium, and small businesses in Ukraine and based on the technologies that my colleagues mentioned. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. And you mentioned the authorities, businesses. I would like to talk about people as well. I will ask the following question. It might seem very, I don't know, naive probably. However, one question is from my side and one question is from people what in the field of renewable energy, what is happening there with the jobs, what the sector will give in terms of expanding working or expanding jobs. If we go to these technologies, if we use these technologies, does it shorten the number of people who are working on quite well paid positions, or this is increasing the number of jobs? And one additional question, if you want, you can answer. If not, then you can just skip it. When can we just use gas and like fuel with these things for our cars? I mean, because now trust is not formed, I guess, for this kind of fuel. I'm very interested in that because when the war started here in February and then March, and a bit better later on, I was surprised that it was possible to find this biofuel somewhere in like villages where no other fuel was available. So people used that for their cars. I used that as well, but it was like we had no other choice. So why don't we have this attitude to new products in Ukraine? Like, because in Europe, I can see that it's different. This is quality, or maybe people don't really understand that properly, or why it's not that common. Yeah, okay. I would like to add to the previous question, very interesting, if possible, about jobs and in general about development of the sector of renewable energy. The latest statistics that we have in Ukraine, it's since 2021, and in general, the sector of renewable energy is like 10%, was covering 10% of energy in Ukraine, and the biggest part on renewable energy were bioenergy specialists. So the second one was hydro energy, and then solar, wind, and like others. If we take bioenergy, then we are seeing the statistics since 2010 when we started having good energy balances and clear division on sectors. So since 2010 till 2021, our bioenergy had was multiplied 3 times, and in 10 years, 3 times. So it's approximately 11% per year. So again, which sector in Ukraine grows 11% per year? I don't know, maybe agrarian sector, and even though I'm not sure about it. Well, now production of drones, maybe. However, this is temporary. And it's 10 years, so the sector grows, and this number of 2021, if we are talking about tons of like fuel, 4.2 in bioenergy, if we go to gas, then it's 5.2 billion of cubic meters of gas in all the sectors. Mainly, this is like heat production. So biomass was burned and the premises were heated, and also like industrial heating was produced. However, electric energy was also included here. It's like 150 kilowatts, 140 kilowatts, biogas, and so on. And we include there like liquid fuel and so on. This gives the equivalent 5.2 billion. Now, I would like to mention that we used to consume 30 billion, and we would have done like 35 if not for bioenergy. So they are giving like 15% from all the gas that Ukraine was consuming. Now it's substituted with bioenergy, and our opinion is that this trend will continue. So we will have this growth, 11%, maybe faster. We will grow the use of this bioenergy in all the fields. And your previous question was new factors that the war brought for the sector. So our agrarian production traditionally was oriented on plants, and mostly it was grain, corn. Those were the main products we were exporting that. And the animal breeding was like 20%. 80, it's working with plants, and it's not the typical situation. In Germany, it's vice versa. 80%, this is breeding animals, and 20%, this is just plants. And now our ports are closed. We cannot take the grain out of the country, so correspondingly, the agrarian companies, they have losses, both corn and grain. So they are looking for the answers. What can we grow in order to keep profitability, to keep being profitable? Think about animal breeding, because here again we are importing certain animal products like pork from Poland and so on. So this is what is being consumed by internal markets. Secondly, the reprocessed products is much better to take because they are that is more expensive. So again, some milk industry, different kinds of cheese and so on, we should go in this direction. And as an example, if we take, for example, the milk farm, and the profitability is like the average, like for example, 20%. If we build biomethane plant that will produce biomethane from some waste that is there, the income comes up to 100% because the raw materials are free of charge. So when there is investment to the farm, many people were not interested in that. In agriculture, it was considered that the income is not really good. So if we calculate it with the biomethane plant, then this increases the income. So some pricing tendency. This never happened earlier. So we are impacting, like, first of all, we are taking agrarians to the side of animal breeding, and this sector allows to increase their profitability. Moreover, we have such a high number of lands that if we just take like approximately 4 million hectares of land in Ukraine are not used, we have like forests there, so to say. So if we plant some trees there and we get 20 tons in 1 hectare of those energy cultures, and then we just burn them as a fuel, then the income is much higher than in traditional cultures. Why won't we use that if we have some extra lands that we are not using? This is also very interesting on bioethanol. You are right. In Ukraine now, we don't have like serious representation of the sector, and before where it was 70,000 of bioethanol produced by Ukraine mainly for export, the quote was for 100,000 tons, and we did not even had it enough. Then this quote was removed, and Ukraine was exporting like 120,000 tons of bioethanol, again exporting. Partially, there was consumption of bioethanol in the country in the first months of war. The methanol disappeared, and this is necessary for guest workers. So they started procuring Ukrainian bioethanol. Yeah, it's more expensive than ethanol, but we had it, and this was the important part. And then import of methanol started from Europe, and everything returned to how it used to be before. As for the bioethanol, we continue the export. However, the attitude to it is different than to biomethane in Europe, because the latter one is a deficit market and they are ready to buy everything we produce. Then biomethanol, it's a competitive market, high competition from the side of European producers, and let us say so, they're not really waiting for us with our biomethanol. So when there were problems with Ukrainian grain in Poland, there was also biomethanol. So Poland actually forbid to export to the territory of Poland Ukrainian grain, and this is a serious competitive market. And in order for it to come to our market. We have to do something that was done by all the European countries. We have to add biomethanol to fuel. And this is totally possible and no problems with engines. 10% to add to the fuel, to gas. If 10%, we just calculate that this is more than 200,000 tons of bioethanol per year. This is more than everything we produce right now. So we have to make this solution. Who is against? Gas traders, oil traders, I'm sorry, who are not interested in this direction. They think that 10% is a loss on their market. Probably it is so. However, there are state interests, and probably this issue is now totally on the parliament. Thank you. Brief comment, because for 1 hour we've been talking already. I mean, you can sum up. This is a very important question because indeed the potential of bioethanol and, by the way, biodiesel is quite high in order to cover our own resources in Ukraine. And we have to learn to formulate Ukrainian market. However, I would like to mention that at least during the whole period of our independence, all the time we had the fifth energy column of the aggressor country, and they did everything in order for Ukraine not to be energy efficient. And we were, as you know, as drug consumers, because we were using that from the aggressor country. And since the independence of Ukraine, only for the import of the natural gas from aggressor country, we paid more than $100 billion. And we understand where is this money, in what tanks, and how this is working against Ukraine. And if we calculate in the average, according to our assessment, in 31 years of independence, we won't take the last few years. So we were taking from Ukrainian budget $15 billion annually in order to pay money for the import of energy resources, for oil, coal, natural gas, nuclear fuel, gas, diesel, and everything related to energy resources. So our own energy market in Ukraine and our own resources and our own technologies is something we can for sure do in here. Yeah, for sure. So here we will finalize or sum up that we need our own and competitive and good. By the way, very interesting for me was to listen. I had many different questions that will be highlighted on the forum by both the participants who are representing here today and foreign partners. And I think that this discussion will also be there about the market share. I mean, what is the proper, or like maybe renewable or some other solutions with the solutions with storages and so on. This is professional discussion. However, only one thing is obvious. This discussion used to be in earlier on, and it started with some biological components. I remember that, but as soon as Russia stopped all that relationship, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, however, we have to face also serious issues with the transitioning. So we have to use self-defense in military sense, and here it's like self-supply, and we have just to cope on our own. So I am listening to that not from the point of view, I'm not sure that as a driver I will go and use the fuel straight away. You will have to tell me more details about that in order to use that. But I understand that it will increase our safety, because we won't be, so to say, relying on the supply from other countries. And this is very harsh when the war is going on all the territory of Ukraine. And now the war is going on not only in the east and south, where we have really hard fights, but it's also all over Ukraine with the rocket challenge and actually sustainability of energy system and sustainability of supply for consumption of all of this energy. This is also supplying, at least the rear is impacting greatly, so that what is done by our women and men on the front line, I'm not even mentioning what is used on the front line, but these are details, I won't mention that. However, now I can see that you're not telling everything. However, the main things were mentioned. So I think that the forum that will take place in the next 2 days, by the way, in a secure premise, will be very important in order to offer solutions as of today and find solutions how to develop the country further on. We did not talk about the topic that I wanted to touch, international energy architecture. However, we will leave that for the forum. And why is that important? At the end, I would like to mention just one thing. We all understand that this is why are we talking about that now? Because the green tariff, green energy, this becomes part of the mandatory business plans for the following years, and not a single businessman would be able to. This is the geopolitical solution, not only the climate changes, and that decision was in the field of security. So we have to find our answers with no delays, but we have to look for these answers together with our partners. So the plan for rebuilding Ukraine, which is now being prepared, it has to take into account these priorities because, well, that's a separate topic. However, I think that you will talk about that on the forum because you cannot develop separately without the money that will come investments, the money for rebuilding and frozen like Russian money, that will be of the high priority because if, for example, the chemical production will be rebuilt, so you cannot do that without gas if there will be some different priorities. So I mean that it's a very complex decision and it has to be included into the general plan of development of the country's safety issues first, then development of sustainable system that can stand. I hope that in the future there won't be such cases, but in the future, if there is some aggression, and give some cheaper solutions for people, because people want to get cheaper energy and more sustainable energy, and as you mentioned, with the added value. So these are the dreams of ours that we've been talking about. So if you have more jobs and cheaper energy, then this is the aim, and it's also about the security. So thank you very much for mentioning this part, and I truly hope that you will discuss this issue on the forum, and maybe even after the forum you will give some results. What are the results of the discussion? What state and business solutions will be there? Thank you very much. It was a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much for being ready to answer such uneasy questions that I collected because my colleagues gave it to us, because people are now sending that to us as participants of the briefing. Thank you very much. I wish you good luck on your forum and in your work.